Hi guys, welcome back. Now that we've gone through all of the contract training, I want to introduce you to Shane. He's our preferred lender at our office, and I want you to know the importance of having someone that you work with all the time. A lot of lenders out there are really horrible, the majority of them, and unfortunately they don't get your deals done on time and things just don't happen, and the reason being is that you really don't know their experience level. So when you have somebody that's really amazing, you really need to focus at having them, working with them. And it's very difficult if you don't have a relationship, or have a relationship where you're all over the map because you have to call from place to place to check on your deals. It's better to have one person that you know and trust, and Shane is that person here.
Suzanne, thank you.
One more thing too is the first thing you want to do is when you start to talk to people is have them talk to Shane. And the reason being is that you don't want to take people out and drive them all over and have them qualify for less, and then their mindset is another house because they're in a price range they shouldn't be in, or they don't qualify at all. And it's just taking a lot of your time, a lot of their time, and it can waste a lot of their money if they're in deals that they can't fulfill. What I usually tell people is, why don't you just talk to my lender, and then you can use whoever you want if you've talked to someone, just so we can make sure that they're both telling you the same thing. And then if Shane talks to them, you don't have to worry because it's just a one shot and you're done. But some people might come with another relationship, and that relationship may be fine, but it's always good to have a second opinion, because I tell you 90% of the time you're going to find out that that relationship isn't fine, and you're going to have things that come out. So anyway, from there, what would be the process, Shane? Say that somebody came to me, like these people are brand new, they have a client. What would you suggest that they do to try to have them just talk with you a little bit, or what process would you want them to do?
I think the easiest thing is one of the first questions that you're going to ask the buyers, are they paying cash or do they have financing in place? Normally it's going to be, in most cases, it's going to be they have financing, or they're going to need financing. And another question that you can ask while you're qualifying the buyer is asking them if they're a first-time home buyer. To me, I think that's kind of important, because right from the very beginning, you know exactly what type of buyer that you're dealing with. Usually if they are pre-approved, you're going to ask them with what institution, have you got a relationship with them, have you given them your documents yet? But I think one of the most important things is that you're going to ask them if they've heard about any type of down payment assistance or any first-time home buyer programs, and that's something that a lot of lenders don't do. We do that. We do the Florida bond loan, $7,500 in down payment and closing cost assistance. And the reason why I think that's important is because you're planting a seed in building credibility with a buyer who may not necessarily have a relationship with a lender, or somebody that you might refer them to.
Okay, so just so they really understand that a buyer can come to you and get $7,500 to help them as a down payment towards closing costs.
Yeah, and it's through the Florida Housing and Finance Commission, and what's great about that is the money doesn't run out. So it's not like with a local municipality or a state to where there's only limited amount of funds. They just have to meet the criteria. They allow for lower credit scores, but I crunch all of that out and I'll let you know if they qualify.
So that's a really great way, if they've talked to somebody else and you know that they're a first-time home buyer, let Shane see if they qualify for that money, because let's face it, $7,500 is a lot of money when you're first starting. Now say that they didn't qualify for that product and they were going to be putting a big amount down. Now, they could usually shop a few places. Why would you suggest that they come to you if they are good A-quality buyers?
Good question. Well, Supreme Lending, we're a billion-dollar mortgage banker, so we're Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and Ginnie Mae, which is FHA and all the government programs. So we're a direct lender. And a lot of your clients who might be putting down 20%, might think that the big bank is the best place to go to get their pre-approval. Well, all of us know, or most of us should know by now, that in October of last year, the Dodd-Frank and the CFPB put in place a fun little thing called TRID. And TRID has, unfortunately, in most cases, added a significant amount of time to the closing process. Matter of fact, I just read an article yesterday in Inman News that they said that the average contract to clear to close is now at 50 days.
Jeez.
Well,
I know you are.
One of the things that we've done at Supreme Lending is we've actually gotten bigger, stronger, and faster. We've taken this opportunity to bring on extra staff to make our process more streamlined, and I'm happy to say that we just got our February stats for last month, and my team was 19 days contract clear to close.
Awesome.
So that's one reason.
Great. That's why he's here. I've done all this work for you, so it's a lot easier when you have someone that we brought Shane on for a reason. And, we've had him save deals too. So if you're on the listing end, look like a hero. When they can't get that deal done, have them talk to Shane, because he saved a lot of deals for us. I mean, just recently he just saved one for us. So that's a really good point. Now, what about a condominium? Like condominiums, you just can't go out if you have like a 5% down payment and start writing up condominiums. Maybe you can explain why and, the process if someone is a condominium buyer.
Yeah, and lots of condos, just right here, I mean, just across the way here. I mean, there's condos that are as far down as you can see to as far north. Condominiums are kind of a wild card, and the reason being is because, when you buy a condo, you're kind of going into business with your neighbors. So everybody needs to be paying their bills, you have to have the right amount of insurance, reserves. And during the crisis of 2005, 6, 7, 8, there was a lot of condominiums that had a lot of exposure to investors. So many of them aren't in financially great shape. I can tell you a rule of thumb, usually condominiums that are a little bit more expensive, let's just say over $200,000, typically have, a little bit better reserves and, things set aside. But the condo questionnaire is mandatory on all condominiums, and it's something that's required by Fannie Mae, not necessarily each specific type of lender, but it's a required form. And that's going to determine what type of financing they can get, whether they can put down the minimum amount of 5% or whether they have to put down the maximum amount of 25%. But there's ways to get around that. But the most important thing about a condominium deal is first you get your contract accepted, and then we have to work very fast to get the condo questionnaire filled out.
Excellent.
All right.
Yeah, because that's usually something.
It's a deal breaker. You're
aren't.
very surprised, and they normally don't get it right the first time. The condo questionnaire is like 54 questions with 3 pages worth, and it's usually a $200 charge to the buyer. Me personally, I always like to get the condominium questionnaire filled out in the very beginning, because what if we're in a property that's not financeable and we spent $450 for an appraisal, $500 for a home inspection, your buyer's $1,000 in with nothing to show for it.
Exactly. So what would the process be if I'm brand new in the business, I have a buyer in front of me, what would you think that I would have to say to them to try to get them over to you and get them qualified?
Well, I think the first thing you'd want to do is, after you found out if they did need financing, is let them know that you work with a lender who is a direct lender, and because of that, they're going to offer some loan programs that some other banks don't, and it would be a good idea to have somebody that's a little more hands-on that can get them from start to finish. I usually start off the pre-qualification process by asking them, hey, are you renting now? And majority of people say yes. Okay, great. What are you paying in rent? I pay $1,800 a month. Okay, wow, that's a lot. Do you want your mortgage payment to be the same as your rent? And now I know exactly what I'm working with. So if somebody's telling me that they want an $1,800 mortgage payment, I know that they have the ability to buy a $250,000 house. So I can kind of start their payment that way, and then I can work around getting their down payment and what type of funds to close they'll need. And then I'll be able to put them back in your lap.
Okay, great. Now, do they go and apply online? Or
they can apply online. I actually normally I talk to them on the telephone. I'll get their information. I'll send them the online application, and they'll fill that out. Inside of that email is going to be a list of documentation that I'm going to require, and it will be specific to somebody being self-employed or how many properties they have, and that's how that works. So they'll fill out the application. I'll get notified. I'll pull credit and review their financials. Typically, I can have a pre-approval or have an answer back to the realtor this same day.
Perfect. Do you happen to have one that's like blank that you could send me, and maybe I'll put it on?
I do. I have an email right now I can send to you.
That'd be nice, because then what I could do is I'll put it on app file so they
Yeah.
can have it and give it right to their clients and have them start to work on that and get moving on it right away.
Yeah, we can do that.
With FHA and VA, I know you have programs with FHA and VA too that they can get involved in fixing a property, and maybe you can explain to them a little bit about that.
Yeah, one of the advantages of being a direct lender is we're going to have lots of loan products that other lenders don't have, or if they do have them, they're not necessarily good at. Earlier, you mentioned before that I've stepped in a few different occasions and I've fixed some loans that have kind of went bad. Mm-hmm. But usually the ones that I seem to fix the most are the ones that have problems with the condition of the property. Just give you a perfect example right now. I closed on one with Laura last Friday, and the buyer got out to the property, and the property had been vandalized. I believe there was a broken window, and somebody had done something to a fence or garage door. But at the end of the day, the lender or the seller, who is a lender because it's a foreclosure, they're not fixing it. So most other lenders, your deal's on the skids right there. But we have an escrow repairs program where I was able to take the $500 that it was going to cost to fix the property, and I basically took that in escrow and we closed it like a normal loan.
Nice.
So that's great, and that comes up more often than not.
Absolutely. Well, that's wonderful. Is there anything else that you could add that you think will help them being new? That maybe that you could see, because you've dealt with a lot of agents for a lot of years, that might help them get that kickstart.
Yeah, and I think having somebody that you can pick up the phone and call, ask the right questions. There are a lot of myths out there. There are a lot of things that tell you that certain properties can't be financed when they actually can. I'm very resourceful. I know a lot of agents, so when we're working on a deal together, I routinely call the listing agent to help get our contract accepted. And I think the most important thing is, you know, throughout 2015, our stats show it. I have 100% close on time.
That's
And
really
I have a
good.
97% customer satisfaction rating, which is very important to us because our business is based all around referrals. But more importantly, it means that you, the agent, get paid on time.
Yeah,
And that's very important.
Very important, especially when you're new. It's your
Yes,
first check.
you
and-
need to get the check.
Exactly. So that's really great. Is there anything else that you would like to add, or anything else that you think is important about Supreme versus other companies that you could?
Yeah, I think
enlighten them
having, you know, this whole thing with TRID that came down the pipeline in October, I've always had a saying that the Chinese symbol for crisis also contains the symbol for opportunity. So this was somewhat of a crisis in our industry. So we looked at it at an angle to get better, faster, and stronger. And for us, for you to be working with the right lender, for us to make the call and to tell your listing agent that your buyer's already been ran through the first level of underwriting, get me the contract, we'll order the appraisal, and we'll close in 21 days. To me, that says enough right there. We're just in the business of getting contracts accepted.
And I know that you get them done. And
Thank
that's the
you.
main thing.
Thank you.
So I don't know if there's anything else that you think we can help them with. I think that kind of gives a good overview. The only other thing is maybe, say that somebody comes and there's a buyer that just won't get pre-qualified. What would you suggest at that point?
Kick them out of your car.
That's it.
That's probably what
That's
I would do.
too.
I think,
I don't think most people are going to be open to it. I think that, you know, you just got to tell them or let them know that if they don't get qualified, it's just hurting them.
I do, and I like to take a temperature test. And what I usually ask is when I speak to somebody on the phone is, hey, is this something we're doing in 60 days or 6 months? Well, you know, my lease ends up next April, so that's like 14 months from now.
Exactly.
So then I'll walk them through the process of what they need to do to prepare themselves. And I think that's a good question when agents are going through, you know, qualifying a customer. One of the questions is this 60 days or 6 months? I mean, where are we at?
Absolutely.
So you kind of know how to classify them as somebody that's serious.
So that's really great, Shane. Thank you for talking with me a little today. Now you guys know who you call. You feel comfortable. You've met him a little. You hear some of that. You'll talk to him a lot more, but at least you have an idea before you have a phone call and just say, I give you a card on who Shane is and the products that he has to offer. So go out there, get some deals done, and call Shane up.
Thank you. Bye.